What if I told you that there's a 500-year-old book that contains the most powerful psychological manipulation techniques ever written? Techniques so effective that world leaders, CEOs, and the most influential men in history have used them to command respect and fear from anyone they meet. If you're tired of being overlooked, disrespected, or treated like you don't matter, then smash that like button right now. Because I'm about to reveal 10 Machiavellian tricks that will make people respect you instantly whether they want to or not. Picture this. You walk into a room, and conversations stop. Not because people are uncomfortable, but because they sense something different about you. There's an invisible force field of authority around you that makes others naturally defer to your presence. They can't quite put their finger on it, but they know you're someone who commands respect. This isn't fantasy, it's psychology. And it all comes from understanding the dark arts of influence that Niccolò Machiavelli outlined in The Prince over 500 years ago. These aren't feel-good self-help tips. These are raw, unfiltered strategies that tap into the deepest psychological triggers of human behavior. Most men go through life being nice, hoping that kindness will earn them respect. They think that if they're just good enough, helpful enough, agreeable enough, people will naturally look up to them. But here's the brutal truth. Respect isn't earned through niceness. Respect is commanded through strategic behavior that triggers specific psychological responses in others. Machiavelli understood something that modern men have forgotten. Human beings are not rational creatures. We're emotional, tribal, and driven by ancient psychological programming that hasn't changed in thousands of years. When you understand these psychological triggers and learn how to activate them, you don't have to beg for respect, you simply take it. But here's what separates boys from men. Boys use these techniques to hurt others or inflate their own ego. Men use them to create beneficial outcomes for everyone involved, while maintaining their position of strength and authority. These aren't manipulation tactics, they're leadership strategies disguised as psychological influence. Today, I'm going to teach you exactly how to implement these 10 Machiavellian principles in your daily life. From your workplace to your relationships, from social situations to business negotiations. By the end of this video, you'll understand why some men naturally command respect while others struggle to be taken seriously. Asterisk, asterisk, but before we dive into the specific techniques, you need to understand the psychological foundation of why these work. Respect isn't about being liked, it's about being perceived as competent, confident, and slightly unpredictable. It's about occupying psychological space in other people's minds. Master the art of strategic silence. Most men talk too much. They over-explain, over-justify, and fill every silence with nervous chatter. This immediately signals insecurity and low status. Machiavelli understood that powerful men speak less, but with more impact. Strategic silence works because it creates psychological tension. When you don't immediately respond or react, people start projecting their own insecurities onto that silence. They begin to wonder what you're thinking, whether they've said something wrong, whether you approve of them. Here's how to implement this. When someone asks you a question, pause for 2 to 3 seconds before responding. When someone makes a statement, don't immediately agree or disagree. Just listen and nod slightly. When someone tries to get a reaction out of you, remain calm and composed. This isn't about being rude or antisocial. It's about being deliberate with your words and reactions. Every time you speak, it should add value to the conversation. Every time you react, it should be calculated and purposeful. The psychological principle behind this is called intermittent reinforcement. When your responses are unpredictable and measured, people pay more attention to them. They start hanging on your words because they can't take them for granted. Watch how this changes your interactions immediately. People will start seeking your approval more. They'll be more careful about what they say around you. They'll naturally assume you're judging and evaluating them, which puts you in a position of psychological authority. But here's the key. Your silence must come from a place of confidence, not anxiety. You're not staying quiet because you're afraid to speak. You're choosing to speak only when it matters. Asterisk, asterisk, use controlled aggression to establish dominance, Machiavelli wrote. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. This doesn't mean being a bully or a tyrant. It means that people should understand there are consequences for disrespecting you or crossing your boundaries. Most men are too passive. They let people walk over them, make jokes at their expense, interrupt them, or dismiss their opinions. They think that being the nice guy will eventually pay off. But what actually happens is that people lose respect for them because they've demonstrated that they won't defend themselves. Controlled aggression is about showing that you have teeth, but you choose when to use them. It's about establishing clear boundaries and enforcing them consistently. It's about being willing to create conflict when necessary, rather than avoiding it at all costs. Here's how this looks in practice. If someone interrupts you, you stop them immediately and say, "I wasn't finished." If someone makes a disrespectful comment, you address it directly. "That was inappropriate, and I won't tolerate it." If someone tries to take advantage of you, you shut it down without hesitation. The psychological principle here is called boundary enforcement. When you consistently defend your boundaries, people learn to respect them automatically. They realize that crossing you comes with consequences, so they modify their behavior accordingly. Now, if you're thinking, but won't this make people dislike me? Stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you will completely change how you think about likability versus respect, and why you've been approaching relationships all wrong. The truth is, most people don't actually dislike confident, assertive men. They respect them. What they dislike is unpredictable aggression, or aggression that seems to come from insecurity. But when your aggression is controlled, purposeful, and clearly about defending legitimate boundaries, people see it as strength. This is why women are attracted to men who can stand up for themselves, why employees respect bosses who have clear expectations, and why friends value people who won't let them get away with bad behavior. Controlled aggression creates safety through predictability. Always offer the illusion of choice. Machiavelli understood that people hate being told what to do, but they love feeling like they're making their own decisions. The key to commanding respect while maintaining relationships is to guide people toward the decisions you want them to make while allowing them to feel autonomous. This is about framing your requests and suggestions in ways that make people feel empowered rather than controlled. Instead of saying, "You need to do this," you say, "You have two options. You can do this, or you can do that. What makes more sense to you?" The psychological principle behind this is called psychological reactance. When people feel their freedom is being threatened, they instinctively rebel against that threat. But when they feel like they're choosing freely, they're much more likely to comply with your wishes. Here's how to apply this in different situations. In negotiations, present multiple options that all benefit you. In relationships, give people choices about how to meet your needs rather than demanding compliance. In leadership, allow people to choose their method of achieving the goals you set. Never appear too perfect. This might seem counterintuitive, but Machiavelli knew that people distrust perfection. If you appear flawless, people will either assume you're fake or they'll work to find your flaws. Instead, strategically reveal minor imperfections that make you seem more human, while maintaining your overall competence. This is called the pratfall effect in psychology. People actually like and respect you more when you show small harmless flaws, because it makes you seem more relatable and authentic. The key is choosing which flaws to reveal. They should be endearing rather than concerning. For example, you might admit to being terrible at remembering names, or confess that you have an irrational fear of spiders, or acknowledge that you're not great at small talk. These admissions make you seem more human without undermining your competence or authority. The respect comes from the fact that you're confident enough to acknowledge your imperfections. This actually makes people trust you more because they feel like you're being genuine with them. Give benefits strategically, not freely. Most men think that being generous and helpful will earn them respect and gratitude. Machiavelli knew better. He wrote, "Benefits should be given little by little, so that they may be better enjoyed. When you give too much too quickly, people take it for granted and lose respect for you." The psychological principle here is called intermittent reinforcement combined with the scarcity principle. When your help and generosity are unpredictable and limited, people value them more highly. When they're constant and unlimited, people begin to see them as entitlements rather than gifts. Here's how to implement this. Instead of always being available to help, be selective about when and how you offer assistance. Instead of giving advice freely, wait to be asked, or make people demonstrate that they value your input. Instead of always picking up the tab, alternate who pays or suggest splitting costs. This isn't about being stingy or calculating. It's about making sure your generosity is appreciated and reciprocated rather than taken for granted. When people have to earn your help or wait for your generosity, they respect it more. Control the frame of every interaction. The frame is the underlying assumption about who has power and authority in any interaction. Most men let other people set the frame, then try to work within it. Machiavellian men set the frame themselves and maintain control of it throughout the doctor interaction. But here's where most men fail completely. They think controlling the frame means being aggressive or domineering. Stay with me, because I'm about to show you how to control any conversation or situation without anyone even realizing you're doing it. Controlling the frame starts with your mindset. You enter every interaction assuming that you have something valuable to offer, that your time is precious, and that people should earn your attention and approval. This isn't arrogance, it's confidence in your own value. Practically, this means you ask the first question, you set the topic of conversation, you decide when the interaction ends. You respond to what people say rather than reacting to it. You evaluate their proposals rather than desperately trying to meet their expectations. Be strategically unpredictable. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." The key to maintaining respect is ensuring that people can't completely figure you out or predict your responses. This keeps them psychologically engaged and slightly off balance. Predictable people are boring and easy to manipulate. When people know exactly how you'll react to any situation, they stop respecting your opinions and start treating you like a known quantity. Strategic unpredictability prevents this. This doesn't mean being random or inconsistent with your values. It means varying your responses, surprising people with unexpected knowledge or skills, and occasionally doing something that challenges their assumptions about you. For example, if you're known as a serious, analytical person, occasionally show your creative or playful side. If you're known for being generous, occasionally be more selective. If you're known for being agreeable, occasionally take a strong stand on something that matters to you. The psychological effect is that people stay engaged with you because they can't put you in a box. They have to keep paying attention to understand you, which means they're investing mental energy in your relationship. Master the art of strategic vulnerability. This is perhaps the most sophisticated Machiavellian technique. Calculated vulnerability, sharing something personal or admitting uncertainty in a strategic way, can actually increase respect rather than decrease it, but only when done correctly. The key is that your vulnerability must come from a position of strength, not weakness. You're choosing to be vulnerable because you're confident enough to handle the consequences, not because you're desperate for connection or approval. Strategic vulnerability works because it demonstrates SSSL high-value traits simultaneously. Confidence, you're not afraid of judgment. Emotional intelligence, you understand the impact of sharing. And trust, you're willing to take a social risk. Here's how to do it right. Share struggles you've overcome rather than current weaknesses. Admit uncertainty about topics outside your expertise while maintaining confidence in your areas of strength. Show emotion when it's appropriate and genuine, but don't use it to manipulate others' responses. ***, demand reciprocal respect. Understood that respect is not a one-way street. If you give respect without demanding it in return, people will assume you don't value yourself highly enough to deserve it. The key is creating reciprocal relationships where respect flows both ways. This means that you treat others with dignity and consideration, but you also expect the same treatment in return. When someone disrespects you, you address it immediately. When someone treats you well, you acknowledge and appreciate it. Most men make the mistake of giving unconditional respect while accepting disrespectful treatment. They think this makes them the bigger person, but it actually makes them seem weak and insecure. Strong men create mutual respect through consistent behavior. Here's how this works. You hold doors. Say please and thank you. Listen when others speak, and generally, treat people with courtesy. But you also expect others to be courteous to you. If they're not, you call attention to it. I noticed you interrupted me several times. I'd appreciate it if you'd let me finish my thoughts. The psychological principle is called reciprocal altruism. When you demonstrate that you both give and expect respect, people understand that the relationship is balanced and fair. This creates more genuine respect than either doormat behavior or aggressive dominance. Now, here's the crucial part that separates amateur manipulators from true Machiavellian masters. And if you miss this, everything else I've taught you will backfire spectacularly. The difference is intent. Amateur manipulators use these techniques to take advantage of others, to get something for nothing, or to boost their own ego at others' expense. True Machiavellian masters use them to create win-win situations where everyone benefits, but they maintain their position of strength and authority. Your goal should never be to harm or exploit others. Your goal should be to create relationships and interactions where you're respected and valued, where your contributions are appreciated, and where you can influence positive outcomes for everyone involved. ***, always maintain multiple options. Ultimate Machiavellian principle is never putting all your eggs in one basket, whether it's relationships, career opportunities, or social situations. Always maintain multiple options so that you're never dependent on any single person or outcome. This isn't about being disloyal or uncommitted. It's about ensuring that you always have alternatives so that you can't be manipulated, controlled, or taken for granted. When people know you have other options, they treat you with more respect because they know you don't need them, you choose them. In practical terms, this means maintaining a diverse network of relationships, developing multiple income streams, having various social circles, and continuously improving yourself so that new opportunities remain available to you. The psychological effect is profound. When you genuinely don't need any particular person or situation, you interact with them from a position of strength rather than neediness. This confidence is attractive and commands respect naturally. People can sense desperation and neediness, and they lose respect for it. But they can also sense abundance and options, and they respect that. The key is genuinely developing these options rather than just pretending to have them. This principle also protects you from the biggest respect killer of all. Appearing desperate. Desperate people don't command respect because their behavior is driven by fear and scarcity rather than confidence and abundance. When you have multiple options, you can afford to walk away from situations that don't serve you, to set boundaries without fear of consequences, and to speak your truth without worrying about others' reactions. This authentic confidence is the foundation of all respect. But here's what I need you to understand, and this is the most important thing. I'll say in this entire video, these techniques are not about becoming a different person. They're about becoming the most powerful version of who you already are. Now, you might be wondering how to integrate all of these techniques without seeming fake or manipulative. The secret is gradual implementation and authentic adaptation. You don't want to suddenly change your entire personality overnight. That will seem inauthentic and people will notice. Instead, pick 1 or 2 techniques that resonate most with your natural personality and start implementing them consistently. Master those before moving on to others. The goal is to enhance your natural strengths, not to become someone you're not. For example, if you're naturally a good listener, start with strategic silence and controlled conversation framing. If you're naturally generous, focus on strategic benefit giving and reciprocal respect. If you're naturally confident, work on strategic unpredictability and maintaining multiple options. The key is that these techniques should feel like natural extensions of who you are, not foreign behaviors you're forcing yourself to adopt. When they're authentic to your core personality, they'll be sustainable and effective long-term. Remember, Machiavelli wasn't teaching people to be evil, he was teaching them to be effective. These principles work because they align with fundamental human psychology, not because they exploit weaknesses or manipulate emotions. The most important thing to understand is that respect cannot be faked or forced. It must be earned through consistent behavior that demonstrates value, strength, and reliability. These techniques help you demonstrate those qualities more effectively. And here's the final truth that will determine whether you succeed or fail with these techniques. Your success depends not on how well you can manipulate others, but on how well you can master yourself. Self-mastery is the foundation of all external influence. If you can't control your own emotions, reactions, and behaviors, you'll never be able to effectively implement these techniques. They'll come across as desperate attempts at manipulation, rather than natural expressions of confidence and strength. This is why the most respected men in history weren't just skilled at influencing others, they were masters of themselves first. They had clear values, strong boundaries, emotional regulation, and the confidence that comes from genuine self-knowledge and self-improvement. ***. Let me paint you a picture of what your life looks like when you master these Machiavellian principles. You walk into any room with quiet confidence, knowing that you have the psychological tools to handle any situation that arises. People naturally gravitate toward you because you've mastered the balance between being approachable and being respected. You're kind but not weak, generous but not taken advantage of, confident but not arrogant. In your career, colleagues and superiors respect your opinions because you've demonstrated that your words carry weight. You don't speak unless you have something valuable to add, and when you do speak, people listen. In your relationships, you've created a dynamic where you're valued and respected rather than taken for granted. People appreciate your presence because they know it's a choice, not a desperate need for validation. In social situations, you're the person others look to for leadership and direction, not because you're the loudest or most aggressive, but because you've demonstrated reliability, competence, and the ability to make good decisions under pressure. Most importantly, you respect yourself. You've developed the inner strength and self-knowledge that makes external validation unnecessary. You're no longer at the mercy of others' opinions because you've built your sense of worth on solid psychological foundations. These Machiavellian principles have transformed you from someone who hopes for respect into someone who commands it naturally. You understand that respect isn't about being perfect, it's about being authentic, consistent, and valuable to others while maintaining your own strength and integrity. The brutal truth about respect is that it's not given freely, it's earned. Through demonstrating that you value yourself enough to demand it from others, when you truly respect yourself, others have no choice but to respect you as well. You've learned that true power doesn't come from dominating others, but from mastering yourself so completely that external circumstances can't shake your inner confidence. This is the real secret of Machiavellian influence. It starts with self-mastery and extends outward to shape your entire world. The prince that Machiavelli wrote about wasn't just a political leader, he was a man who understood human psychology so deeply that he could navigate any social situation with confidence and skill. That's what you've become, a master of human psychology who commands respect through competence, confidence, and strategic thinking. Your transformation is complete, not when others respect you, but when you've become the kind of man who naturally deserves respect. These techniques aren't tricks to fool people, they're tools to help you become your most powerful, authentic, and respected self. If you're ready to master these psychological principles and transform how people see and treat you, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Share this video with a friend who needs to command more respect in his life. And remember, true power comes not from controlling others, but from mastering yourself so completely that respect becomes inevitable. Your journey to authentic masculine power starts now. The question is, are you ready to become the man who commands respect naturally, or will you continue hoping that others will respect you without you demanding it? The choice is yours. But remember, in the game of respect, you're either commanding it or you're giving it away. Which will you choose?